activity time. Sound good? Yeah. All right, cool. So, so last time I talked about doing an activity. So we're gonna do that part, and I'm gonna kind of group you guys together, and we'll spend we have about 13-ish minutes left of class. And so I'll pair you guys up now, and then you guys can continue this on. Let's say if you don't finish it, is that you can finish this on your own time, stuff like this. And the real reason why I'm giving you guys this part is basically to get you guys to, first of all, be able to talk with each other, also learn from each other. We all have different strengths and weaknesses that we can get from. It's also good to know how to interact with other people when you're doing programming and stuff like this. So we've kind of already done a little bit of activity like this. Another thing too is being able to collaborate on one common goal. And it'll be a short activity. It's not graded. It's not like you have to stress out about turning it in and something like that. But I think it's a good practice. When I do pair you guys up, I was going to try to break you guys up into different groups so you guys can have a little bit of a Zoom chat with yourself, and then we'll call everyone back together. But if you guys continue this on afterwards, I highly suggest using Zoom or whatever you guys use to kind of spend some time together and work on it together. And that way you guys can kind of help each other out. You can kind of see what each other are doing and stuff like this. And also you get to know each other a little bit better too. Okay. So let me go ahead and pull up what the actual activity is. I have too many windows in my life. Aha, there it is. Okay, so let me share my screen. I think that's it. Okay, so let me just kind of make this a little bit bigger. All right, so first things first is I have this on the repo. So you guys should all know how to find this resources. And it's actually in this activities. It is the first activity in here, basic exploration activity 00.ipnb. Really exciting title. So the whole goal of this is basically doing some practice of exploration. And so we have some different tasks here, but the main thing is basically trying to get a feel for how you would explore and then get into the visualization of explaining something. So our kind of overall objectives is we're going to find some precompiled data. So you are going to find some data. So wherever that exists, you're going to import that data into a file using pandas. So if you haven't already done this, with section 6 or section 6, I think section 5, you'll definitely have some practice here. You'll then explore the data with summary statistics or other methods. You'll identify any missing data, create an exploratory visualization from the data imported. And then the whole point is for you guys to also collaborate with each other on one notebook. So some useful things, I kind of have some links from the previous, lessons that we talked about and from study groups and stuff like this. Of course, you can use the curriculum, some of the resources, Python Data Science Handbook, Pandas. There's actually on the Kaggle, there is a lesson on Pandas itself. So it's a good kind of practice if you want to get some extra practice using Pandas beyond the curriculum and what we've seen already. And then also there's some data visualization practice as well in Kaggle. Would kind of show you some extra stuff, especially with Seaborn. So some stuff you can play around with. This whole thing should not take you more than maybe an hour, all together. And that's kind of me stretching it out. It shouldn't take you too long to do all these different pieces. So what's going to happen here? So I'm going to group you guys up and you guys are going to create a single repo. So you're going to create a new GitHub repo and you guys are going to collaborate on that one part. If you guys are, maybe not super familiar with GitHub, you're not feeling super confident in this, you can make a repo and just take turns basically making commits, pushing your commits, and then pulling it down. That way you guys are all synced up with each other. And since you guys are going to work together in a single Zoom chat, it'll be something that you can kind of connect with. If you're feeling what, we're feeling as a group, we're adventurous, we want to kind of play around with some more advanced stuff, you can even try doing some branches and doing branch merges and stuff like this. So once we group you guys up, you guys will then find some data. You're going to download it. So this is kind of the point is for you to find some data and actually practice this with Pandas. So make sure you reference where your data comes from. So that can be your URL inside your Jupyter notebook. It can be in your repo's README, whatever it is to reference where the data comes from. You don't necessarily have to add the data to your repo, especially if it's relatively large, but you definitely can in this case. Some places you can search for are Kaggle datasets. So you can actually search for specific datasets. So if I just kind of click over here, There's also the UCI machine learning repo. Some of these are relatively large, but some of them might be interesting. Data.gov, and then the dataset search by Google. I don't know if anyone's heard about this one before. I love using this for the past like couple years. You can actually search, like, for example, if I say like bike data, I just put it, it's not Google's like bike data, but you can basically pull up information about this. It's kind of like Google search, but for data sets. So pretty useful. UCI machine learning, they already have basically files that are built in that you can find and stuff like this on different topics. Yes, you had a question.
Yeah, how did you get to that Google data search I mentioned?
Yeah, I have it actually right here's the link, but it's dataset search.research.google.com, which I can never memorize. Like, I've been using this for a while now, and like every time I just search Google dataset search, and I usually find it from there. Cool. So once you find your data, note that you shouldn't have it any too big. It should be tabular. Don't pull image data, because that's going to be not really useful for you for exploration, as well as just really large. One quick thing you can just do is on Kaggle datasets, you can probably just find, like, you know, for example, hotness, or like you can just sort from like most votes, and you can just see whatever is like, oh, this looks interesting. For example, heart rate data. You can pull this up, figure out how to download this data, right? So you can probably see download. You might have to sign up for an account here, but basically this is to help practice you guys find data and like actually do something with it. After you download this data, you're going to import it using in your notebook. So importing your data, whether it's a CSV or otherwise, making sure you import it correctly. And then once you have that, you should have a data frame, right? And your goal is basically to describe your data. So your thing is to basically get an understanding of your data and how it feels, basically what it looks like. You know, you're trying to get an understanding of like what this data represents, okay? So things you can use are things like, you know, df.info, df.describe, you know, you can look at specific parts. And then in this part, I want to kind of have you guys practice in documenting and summarizing. So, you know, let's say you do some methods, kind of explore a little bit what the different columns are, you know, what the different values are. Maybe you do like some quick exploratory visualization, possibly, something like that. You want to document something, what you discovered about your data, interesting aspects of your data, so missing or undistributed. So for example, if you see missing data, so I think yesterday we kind of showed a little bit like how this would work with like the BMI, or not BMI, I think it was diabetes data, where I kind of like showed like, oh, we kind of quickly look at this, you know, you're going to do some summary, just write down in a markdown cell of what you found, what's interesting, next steps of what you could do, and then any thoughts about, you know, what you saw. So for example, we saw that male and female seemed to be, you know, it wasn't, it was like, you know, negative 0.03 or something like that, and male was like 0.05 or something like that. And so putting those observations like, oh, you know, that's something, it looks like it might be binary. We should look at unique values, you know, like, oh, we found that there were unique values in here. We should transform this into male and female. So to kind of documenting like what you would do and what you saw. Okay, does that make sense to people? Cool. All right. And then last part is that I want you guys to visualize some of your data. So like taking something and making a visualization of some aspect of your data. And so this can be more of like exploratory. The point is just for you guys to get an example doing this. And I want each person in the group to actually make a visualization on that notebook. So you guys can take turns, you guys can figure out how you guys want to do that. But each person should, like, for every person in the group, there should be at least one visualization. Okay, cool. And this can be like histogram, box plots, those are really useful, or a scatter plot if you want to compare like bivariate, so like two, what's it called, columns or features. Okay. And the last thing is, like, once you're all done, share it with us, right? Share it on Slack. You can, you know, if you're really interested, you're like, ooh, this is some really cool illustration data, you guys can keep continuing this on and do more stuff with it. But yeah, share it out on Slack for sure, and do whatever you want with it. Okay, cool. Thumbs up, sound pretty good. Any questions? Okay. All right, so I'm actually gonna stop the recording here, and then I'm gonna split you guys up, and then we'll kind of go from there.